Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It is the end of yet another season of the Mind Body Medicine for Chronic Pain podcast, season 4, episode 12. And I'm glad you're here. So I've been getting some feedback from people who've been saying, like, I should be talking specifically about my specific symptoms and my recovery from my specific symptoms. This feedback makes sense because it's coming from people who are outside of the TMS world, outside of the neuroplastic symptom recovery world. Most people who are outside of this world don't think about like needing to heal from chronic pain or needing to heal from chronic symptoms. Most people think like, I need a solution to my slipped disc. I need a solution to my small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I need a solution to my neck issue. I need a solution to my interstitial cystitis. I need a solution to my SI joint dysfunction, right? What most people don't know is that those problems, those conceptualizations are not the problem at the root of the pain. Most people don't know that. All of those symptoms feel totally different in the body, but the solution is the same process. And the solution is, of course, mind-body work. Okay, hello. If you have not met me, my name is Sean Hershey. I am a therapist, and I help people like you who are struggling with chronic pain and who are healing from chronic pain using emotional and psychological modalities. Most people don't even know that's possible, but of course, you know it is possible. And here you are. All right. So today we're going to talk specifically about one symptom, the biggest one in my life, and quite a remarkable recovery story for me, and a recovery story that I feel really confident in. My recovery from chronic irritable bowel syndrome. That is what we are talking about today. Okay. I know I talked about my own story in season 1, episode 1 of this podcast. And in that episode, I included a bunch of information about my IBS experience and my IBS recovery. But I also included like the whole story with so many other symptom imperatives. And so this story today is going to be like just about IBS. So for my IBS people, this one is for you. And for non-IBS people, you will surely get something out of it too, because the same patterns apply to all of the symptoms. Okay, let me start by saying this. This podcast cover. Can you see the picture? That's a picture of me at the gym earlier this year, trying to be hot, trying to serve body, and kind of succeeding, if I do say so myself. We've talked about this on the show before, about attempting to embody the toxic ideal of the normate gay. That is the gay man who's the ideal in the gay hierarchy. The gay man who has the perfect body. He's masculine. He's normal. He's normal meaning he's not a twink. He's not like a baby gay, but he's not yet old. He's not yet like a zaddy. He's like you know, he's not a bear, but he's also not small. He's not big. He's not little. He's just right. Above all, he is not feminine. That's the most important thing about the normate gay. But like, he's still gay. He's just that perfect, masculine, normal ideal. This picture is me trying to embody the normate gay. And honestly, I feel I'm kind of close in this picture. Like maybe a little on the gay side for being like the normate gay, but like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm getting close in this picture. And I'm naming this, I want to call this out because the normate gay is a fake construct. It does not truly exist in reality. In the natural world, the normate gay is not real. And in reality, I am personally always thinking that I'm too feminine, appearing too feminine. Look at my fucking face. Why do I hold my mouth like that? I am many of the things that the normate gay is not allowed to be. Let's be real about that, because the normate gay is not real. But I have this picture, and I say all of this to say, you know what is real? Do you know what is real? I chose this picture, this gym selfie for this cover because my stomach is pretty flat in this picture, right? And that is real. That is real. My stomach is usually now like it's not sticking out, like really sticking out the way it used to. Like my stomach does not stick out like that anymore. And that is real. That is real. This is a story about irritable bowel syndrome. We're starting at the end. I no longer have chronic IBS. And that is because it's because of the emotional and the psychological work that I teach on this podcast. It's because of the emotional and psychological work that Dr. John Sarno wrote about in his books, that Nicole Sachs teaches on her podcast and in her book, Mind Your Body. The work that so many people teach, so many people do, the emotional and psychological work that I talk about on this podcast is what ended my chronic IBS. Truly. So, what a relief, right? You can go, just like you go into Romeo and Juliet knowing that they're both going to die in the end. This is the opposite. You go into Sean Hershey's IBS recovery story knowing that, like, it ends up pretty good. Like, we're in a pretty good place right now. And that is a relief. Okay. And the thing that I just want to extend as I'm telling the story, I'm not going to get super deep into like exactly what I did to heal because that's incredibly complex. That's literally what I talk about in the entire podcast. That's what many of Dr. Sarno's books are about. That's what Nicole Sachs's book, Mind Your Body, is mostly about. Like, I mean, there's so much content to cover in terms of like, how do you heal? I cannot get into it, all of that in this one episode. I cannot get into every single thing I did in order to heal in this one podcast episode. But what I want you to know is you can heal too. If you do the psychological and emotional work, you can heal too. Okay. So this story starts young, like infant. My mom always told me that I was a colicky baby. Crying, fussy, irritable, and digestive issues. Crying, fussy, irritable, and digestive issues. Kind of sounds like me, right? Sounds like me. Um, and my mom was on a bunch of different elimination diets when she was breastfeeding, like diets for me because of my issues, and to no avail. Which I'm just like, can you believe that? Like, that is a classic part of so many TMS stories. Um, that was happening to me in my life as an infant. Unreal. Like, hashtag lifer is what I'm gonna say about that. Um, and I'm like, I don't know everything. So I'm just wondering, like, what is that? As a baby, like, where were those symptoms coming from? I doubt that that was, like, repressed emotions as an infant, I mean, like, Lord knows my adult TMS has certainly been connected to repressed emotions, that's for sure. And repressed emotions and, like, fear of emotion, that's certainly a core part of the TMS experience. But, it's not the only thing. And also, like, as an infant? Like, I don't who knows, but I doubt I was psychologically defended against emotion. Um, I also don't really think I was, like, traumatized at that point necessarily. Um, Although I will say this, I did once have a body worker tell me that I was holding on to birth trauma, which my birth was very long and traumatic. And then this body worker did suggest that we schedule a birth unwind, to which I was like, yes, please. And then I emailed her back to set up a follow up like a bunch of times, and she totally ghosted me. So I actually never got a birth unwind. So I am still out here wound up. So, okay, well, I'm bringing this up because I'm like, maybe I had symptoms like that as an infant from birth trauma. Um, but I really think the fussiness and emotionality and sensitivity to life, my best guess is that's just my nature. I might honestly just be the type of person who is a sensitive one and the type of person who feels a lot. I don't know, but that is my guess. And you know, as I've said on this podcast before, I don't want to put the pressure on myself to know everything because human consciousness is limited, and trying to know and trying to understand everything is just going to stress me out, and it'll stress you out too. So let's both agree we can be chill and we can accept some not knowing in life because there's no other choice. We can't know everything. But okay, these are the facts. I was a sensitive, emotional, fussy infant with digestive issues. And then, life goes on, and I grew out of that. So in my childhood, once I was out of the infant stage, I didn't have digestive problems. So I was free of that for a long time. The next time I remember having digestive issues would have been in college. So when I was in college, I had a campus job, which was, like to make money off of tuition, which was a total scam because, like, my God, I went to college in the state of Wisconsin. The minimum wage at that time was $6.25. The tuition for college was thousands of dollars. I mean, I think at that time it was maybe 35K a year. And we were trying to pay that down off of fucking $6.25 an hour. That was a scam. Just saying. But so I had my campus job. And some people are like working food service, or I mean they're like, one of my friends worked in the art museum, like that was a little gross because you did have to clean out the mouse traps, which literally did have dead mice in them all the time. So, not to say that job was easy. All the jobs were a little challenging, but my campus job was pretty challenging in a pretty intense way. And my job was phonathon. So, if you're not familiar with what phonathon is, that is I was one of the students who was tasked with calling alumni and asking for money. So every Sunday, I did it twice a week. It was Sunday and then one other night, I forget. But it was always Sunday night. I would have a shift Sunday night, and we were all in this room with a bunch of cubicles, and we were just hooked up to like a computer with this like program would show up, and we were strapped in. It was like headphones on, little microphone on, and it would just, this software was quick. Like, it would just make call after call after call. So the phone would start ringing. You would get, like, I would get on the screen, like, this is the name of of the alumnus you're calling, this is the year they graduated, this is some information about them, and this is the amount of money that you're supposed to ask them for. And so, as you get prepared to have this conversation, and then the person doesn't answer, so the screen drops, and then the next one comes right up, no pause, no break. It's like, all right, here's the next one. Now this is their name, this is a little information about them, this is the year they graduated, this is their major, this is the city and town they live in now, this is their, our guess at what their income is, and this is the amount that you're supposed to ask them for tonight. And then it's like, okay, let me prepare for this conversation. And then they pick up, and then you're like, hello, my name's Sean, I'm a student calling from Beloit College, is this blah blah blah? And then they're like, usually like, "Oh, okay, what is this about?" And then you have to, like, kiki with them, you have to be like, "Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, we're calling about the Beloit College Fund tonight, but, I would like to talk to you a little bit about your experience. Do you have a few minutes to talk right now?" And then, you're supposed to sort of engage the people. If people loved to talk about their college experience. Some people didn't. Some people were very rude. They would hang up. People like, get me off this list. Some people really wanted to talk. They were like, oh, you're a student at Beloit. How is it? Oh, what do you like about school? Let me tell you. Blah blah blah. Like in the '70s, Beloit was crazy. You don't even understand the party scene that we used to have. Like, it was fun. It was fun, but it was a lot. And then you'd have these fun conversations, and then you'd always have to subtly be like, "Okay, so I want to, just subtly transition to, like, I wanna talk to you tonight about the Beloit Fund, and I'm wondering, can we count on your support with a gift of $1,500?" Which was crazy because sometimes they'd be like, "Oh, sure, hold on, let me just get my credit card." But usually they'd be like, 1,005 are you kidding me? I'm still paying off my loans. Like, what's wrong with you? Who do you think you are?" Um, so this was a lot. I mean, this was a lot. And why am I telling this story? Guess how my stomach felt during these, shifts? My stomach felt awful. I remember, like, I would be, like, gassy, gurgling feelings in my gut, like, a all the sort of, like, churning, and I remember feeling like, "Oh god," like, I would always be like, "I need to take a nasty shit," and the bathroom people with IBS, like, will understand this feeling. The bathroom was, like, right there, and the room where we did the phone-a-thon, calls was pretty quiet, except for the conversations, obviously, and the bathroom was right there. It wasn't like, "Oh, walk down the hall and use the bathroom," and then if you, like, are farting or having a lot of gas or, like, some ne if you're taking, like, a gross dump, you know what I mean? It's like, no one's gonna hear it, no one's gonna know because 'cause you're down the hall. This was the opposite of that situation. The bathroom was right there. So I would be like, "Oh my god, I really have to, like, go," you know what I mean? But, like, I can't. Like, I gotta hold it in, I can't. And we would always have, on these shifts, we would always have a pizza break in the middle, like, we'd take a little break for, like, 10 min this was a grueling job. Like, we would get a break for, like, 10 minutes maybe, where we each got to, like, shove down a piece of pizza, and then we would, continue with the phone calls. And okay, so after the shift was over, walking from the office where they had the phone-a-thon calls to my dorm at the time, in between the 2 locations was the college library. I would go into that library after every shift, and that was a place where, there were sound machines, there was, like, there was a lot going on in the library. There was a very private bathroom in the library, and I would just let loose in there, and I would take a pretty nasty shit after each of those, um you know, shifts, because my stomach was not liking that. That was really stressful. That was a lot on the body. That was a lot on the body. And I remember thinking, like, "What's wrong with me?" Like, "Why does my stomach hurt so much like this?" Like, every time I do one of these shifts, my stomach hurts so much. It is so obvious now that I'm like, "That was stressful. That was overwhelming. My body and my true self did not like that." But at the time, I remember just thinking like, "Oh, what is wrong with me? Like, my stomach, my gut, like, what is wrong with me?" But it wasn't every day. It wasn't all the time. Like, this would just happen here and there, now and then, and it would definitely always happen with phone-a-thon. And, I just remember thinking, like, "Something's off, but I don't know what it is." I bring up the pizza because I certainly sort of thought, like, maybe it's the pizza. Like, this pizza is fucking with my stomach. Oh, and that, my friends, is an example of Dr. Sarno teaches think psychologically, not physically. Now that I know that, it is so obvious what was going on in these phonathon shifts and how my body was reacting. At the time, I mean, like, it shows how lost I was and how little we learn about the mind-body connection in our society because I didn't know. I was truly just in a place of, like, only thinking physically. The only thing I could think is there's something wrong with my stomach and, like, this pizza is not agreeing with me. Okay. So my next memory of stomach issues, when I was out of college, my first job, I was 22 years old. I had moved to New York City. I was working for AmeriCorps at a public school in the Bronx. And, I mean, that was such a great, like, it was such a, like, great opportunity for me. Like, it was a very rich experience. The kids were so fun. Um, and they were hard, you know, like, it was hard work. I mean, it was just such a great opportunity for me as a young person who had just graduated from college and had no idea what to do with my life, and I learned so much about life in the Bronx doing that work, and, what I'm saying is that I was one of those white people who was like, "I went to teach the kids in the Bronx, and then they ended up teaching me." You know the story. There are whole genres of film dedicated to that, plot line. I'm sure you've seen some of them, so we're not gonna dwell on that story because you know that story already. We are going to continue with the chronic pain story. So, I had to wake up very early for this job, and, I had just been in college, which was like, um college, I was like, my earliest class would be at like 10 o'clock, and like I would roll in like at the last minute. And this was like, I'm working in a school, you get there early, you have to commute. It was early. It was early. And I'm the type who like gets kind of like a queasy stomach when I don't sleep. So I would have that feeling when waking up. And I had that feeling like the first couple mornings of the job, the first couple weeks of the job, then the first couple months of the job, and that feeling never really went away. So it became a thing. Bloating, constipation, and my stomach over the months just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And this was stressful. I mean, the work was stressful. It was the first time I'd ever had a job where, like, yeah, I felt really motivated to, it was like, if things went well, it was like then things would go well, like with the kids and in the classroom and blah, blah, blah. Like, if things didn't go well, it was a disaster. And like other people were sort of counting on me to do a good job. I had only the only jobs I had in the past had been like school and like, working at like catering and then phone-a-thon. Like, it's stuff that was like it was more just like kind of about me. Like if I wasn't doing well, it was just kind of about me. But this was like, I felt people were really relying on me and it was stressful and the hours were rough and it was a big transition and I had paying rent. So I was stressed, and my stomach was feeling it, feeling it. There was a time, the building uh, I lived in East Harlem at the time, and the building I lived in had these, like, big, dark windows that were, like, basically floor to ceiling on the maybe not, I mean, that makes it sound so, like, glamorous, it wasn't like that. There were large windows that did not touch the floor nor the ceiling, but they were big windows, and if the lights were off and you walked past outside, it was like just a huge mirror. And I remember walking past those windows, my t-shirt and my stomach, I was like, "Holy shit. I look pregnant right now. How am I leaving the house like this? What can I do? What is wrong with me? What has happened to me? Like, what is going on?" And that was an awful feeling. That was an awful feeling, that jarring realization that, like, this is what my body, A, feels like now because it felt awful, and B, looks like now because it was so, like, embarrassing. So, That summer, I was back home in St. Paul for a few weeks, and I went to a doctor for the first time for stomach issues. And, I went to, like, I was, like, getting a physical or whatever, and I was like, "Something's wrong with my stomach." And I got some sort of, like, imaging of my, intestines done. I don't know exactly what it was, but when the doctor and I looked at the imaging together, the whole intestinal area was filled with gas and backed up with stool. Which made sense to me. I was like, that feels right. That feels like what is in there." And the doctor told me I needed to be on daily laxatives for 2 weeks and maybe for the rest of my life. Age 22. Be on laxatives for the next 2 weeks and maybe for the rest of your life. So, I was at the very beginning of this journey. So I did it. I was on laxatives for 2 weeks. And then that didn't solve the problem. And I was like, let me go to an actual doctor who specializes in this. So, now I was motivated because the idea of getting some kind of medical treatment that would take this constant pain and discomfort away, and B, flatten my stomach out. I was like, yeah, sign me up for that medical treatment. Like, that's that. Yes, let's go. Gay boy, age 22. Maybe I was 23 at that time, but I was right in that range. Yes, please sign me up. So, then we start going down the path. Gastroenterologist, diagnosed with IBS, which has no known cause and no known treatment. I, of course, started doing my own research because I'm motivated, and this, my initial sort of foray into treatment isn't really working. So, doing my own research, I'm like, all right, let me eliminate dairy because I probably have an issue with dairy. Let me eliminate gluten. Let me start taking a probiotic, like, let's see what's really going on here. So I sort of half-assedly eliminated dairy and gluten, and I did start taking a probiotic, and the probiotic was good. I still take a probiotic daily to this day because probiotics are good for the gut. But was the probiotic the cure to my chronic IBS? If it was, the story would end here. I'd be like, then I got on the probiotic, and now I'm good, and I still take it to this day. Nope, there's a lot more. That was not the solution. It was good, it was a little helpful, but the symptoms remained. So, then it was like, I mean, it's like there's so much here, like, it doesn't feel like a totally coherent story, and I don't know exactly what order everything went in, but I'm just gonna share, like, the memories that are, like, I mean, I guess the most important thing to say is my stomach would really hurt a lot and often and every day. Not a day went by without, like, some kind of stomach issue, and I spent a lot of time in pain and discomfort, all of that. I went to a few different gastroenterologists, one of whom was like this is still back when I was at home in, St. Paul. One was in suburban Minneapolis, which was, like, a long drive, and they were supposed to be, like, so good, and, my mom came with me, and, like, that was the place where they actually diagnosed me with IBS, like, officially, and I remember the doctor saying, like, "IBS is a category of disorders. It's not a good diagnosis, but it's what we have. That diagnostic label doesn't give us a solution or a clear treatment plan." And they were like, "So try this, try that, maybe this, maybe that, throw this in. We'll do a little bit of this testing and that testing." And some people have success with diet change. Some people have success with this pill or that pill, or some people need, like, some other stuff. And some people just have to, manage it because it doesn't ever improve. And I remember thinking, like, I knew it. I knew it. They can't help me, and I knew it. Another memory I have is a, doctor who had me go on, like, a 2-month-long journey with this serious elimination diet. And, so it was like eliminate everything for 2 weeks, see how you feel, which, of course, not much change, sadly. And this is when I was eating, like, so few food groups. Um, and then, you introduce gluten for 1 week and see how you feel. There were 4 papers as part of this diet, 4 8.5 by 11 papers, and I had all 4 papers on my dresser in my bedroom at the time. I remember this so clearly. And, this is when I was in graduate school. getting my MSW, and I was probably 24 at that time. Some 24-year-olds are like, on a beach or, like, I don't know, like having some sort of fun, maybe allowing themselves to fucking relax. I, at age 24, was in my childhood bedroom because, like, how was I going to afford rent while I was in graduate school at the University of Minnesota? Like, certainly not with all the money I had saved up from my AmeriCorps job, you know what I mean? Um, so I'm in my childhood bedroom, forcing myself through graduate school, living with my family of origin, and with terrible stomach pain every day. The bloating, the gas, the constant discomfort, being on the verge of like an awful, juicy, wet fart that would smell so scary, like feeling like that so often. I was on the verge of literally that at all times. So, okay, I had these 4 papers, one with all the gluten I couldn't eat, one with all the dairy I couldn't eat, one with all the nightshades I couldn't eat, and one with all the fructose I couldn't eat. So, like I said, diligently cut it all out and then reintroduced it all back. And I remember the day I reintroduced gluten, I felt so tired, so tired. And I remember eating these delicious gulab jamun. I hope I'm saying that right. It's an Indian dessert, gulab jamun. I had that from an Indian buffet, and I remember thinking, "Oh my god, this is incredibly delicious." And I remember thinking, like, "I can't cut this out forever." Like, I cannot cut this out forever. I pray as I'm, like, soaking up the delicious, sugary, weedy juice of this fucking amazing dessert. I remember being like, "I pray I don't have to cut this out forever." And I can remember later that day, walking to the gym that I used to go to at that time, and I remember feeling like I could have fallen down on my face. I was so exhausted. I can still picture, like, the block where I was on the streets of Merriam Park in St. Paul. I could have fallen on my fucking face. I was so exhausted. And I remember, again, at that time thinking so deeply, not psychologically, and just thinking physically. Thinking psychologically could have been like, am I exhausted? Does grad school and having an internship and starting a career as a therapist, and I also worked at a restaurant at the time on top of everything else, because of course, starting the career as a therapist was scary, so stressful, existentially, like, can I help anyone? What am I doing here? I'm so stressed out. Will I be able to do this? And so many of the people in my classes are so much older than me, and I'm a fucking child, and I was not focusing on any of that in terms of why does my stomach hurt. I was not thinking psychologically. I was only thinking physically. I was thinking physically like, well, I'm going to have to cut out gluten. After praying that morning that I would never have to do it, I was like, well, now it's the afternoon and I've got my answer. I've got to cut it out. So I did. And at the end of this whole 6-week protocol, did I feel any better? My IBS symptoms? Not really, but they had gotten worse during the week when I reintegrated gluten. So, very simply, I was like, all right, got to cut out gluten. And that is what I did. And that was not the solution. But I thought at the time it must be part of the problem and not the whole problem. But I was going off the gastroenterologist's super confusing logic and their, very confusing messaging to me, which was the way you heal from IBS is like maybe this, maybe that, maybe the other thing, maybe a combination of things. So I thought clearly I'm gluten intolerant and also I must have other problems. So A, I need to avoid gluten, and B, I need to keep searching. And that's such a sad memory because I was so wrong, Fully cutting out gluten was such a huge undertaking, and I did that for years. Um, and I had enlisted the help of multiple medical professionals, all of whom did not know how to help me. Oh, looking back on that, I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's so angering and so sad. So sad. Okay, other memories, like my mom at this time was very much like, "You've always been like this." This is when she would tell me about, like, how, I was a baby with digestive issues, like, as an infant, and in my fear, as she would tell me this story, um, I totally overlooked the fact that, like, sure, maybe I had been like this as a baby, but I did not have digestive issues for, like, the majority of my childhood. Like, it definitely got better. I totally grew out of it. I totally overlooked that part of the story. But, something I have found is that when you have a symptom, it kind of feels like you always have it, and it's hard to imagine your life without it. Like, at least that's, like, how it is for me. Um, so I was in deep fear since I felt this every day. I was in deep fear that it was just like, "Yeah, this is how I feel always. It is how I have always felt." And remember how bad my stomach would get after eating that pizza in college? Yeah, something's really wrong with me, and it's only gotten worse, and my stomach is messed up, and my intestines are fucked up, and I am screwed always and forever. There's something wrong with me logic, like the belief there's something wrong with me. It just, like, made so much toxic sense in my brain, given the emotional trauma I'd been through with, like, being gay and the way I grew up, um, feeling like I wasn't allowed to be me and feeling like I was different from the norm. The way I grew up in so many ways gave me the belief there's something wrong with me. And so when that manifested physically in my body, it was so easy for me to believe that. It was so easy for me to believe that. Um, I went to a specific acupuncturist who I used to see for IBS, who was great. Like, she was such a great person, and she wanted so badly to help me. It was, like, so clear and so obvious that she, like, really, really tried. She was not toxic at all. She didn't help me, but she really tried, and I still appreciate her for that. And she had an office in the beautiful old part of St. Paul, and I remember I would drive there, every week for many weeks. I would walk down the block from the car to her office, past the same, like, gorgeous old mansions week after week, and I would pray that someday I would get better. And, that never helped me. That never helped me. Um And another memory, I was, in my attempts to find out, like, what else was wrong with me, so this is all a lot of this was when I was at the University of Minnesota for grad school, living in St. Paul, um, which, by the way, isn't it interesting? I was in school to become a therapist, learning about psychology, learning about emotions, the literal keys to getting out of chronic pain and symptoms, and my education was so limited, as it almost always is for most mental health professionals and most medical professionals. Our education is so limited as it currently stands that no one gave me the tools to put two and two together. Isn't that nuts? Wow. So at that time, I was doing my own shot in the dark research, and I found online that IBS can be caused by gallbladder that's clogged with gallstones. And that causes liver congestion, which some naturopathic person had diagnosed me with liver congestion at some point on this journey. So I was like, "Okay, let me do this. Like, let me do this liver and gallbladder cleanse." So the cleanse was you were supposed to do this process 1 day a month for 9 months. So, it was a whole day long affair. There was a day where you were meant to eat nothing and only drink apple juice. And there was a very specific amount of, like, cups of apple juice you were supposed to drink. And I did this, like, to a T. Got a huge jug of apple juice once a month, didn't eat for the whole day, and was just like, "All right, have my 2 cups of apple juice at this hour, 2 cups of apple juice at this hour, 2 cups of apple juice at this hour." Because I was like, "This really might take these symptoms away. It really might calm my stomach down. It really might, like, end the bloating and the gas and the farting." And I was so motivated. I was like, "I will do anything." So I did all the apple juice drinking, and then at the end of the night, now I forget exactly what it was, but I mean, it was, maybe 1 cup of it was definitely olive oil and lemon juice. It might have been a half a cup of olive oil and a half a cup of lemon juice. Might have been a whole cup. I mean, Nah, that's so much. I don't think it was a whole cup. It was probably half a cup of each, and it turned into a whole cup. It was a whole cup when you combined it. It was disgusting. Half a cup of lemon juice, half a cup of olive oil, which they don't mix, so you have to, like, really quickly, like, try to, like, whisk it all together and then, like, down it real quick, and it was so, so disgusting. So you drink it, try not to vomit, which I literally did 2 times. I literally vomited after or, like, while doing this cleanse, and, so you drink it, and then you're supposed to go straight to bed and lie on somehow the logic made sense. It was like either lie on your right side or your left side. I forget which it was, but it was like, then the gallbladder will easily empty out and all the gallstones will come out. Um, so the first one, I did it, and, the next morning I woke up and I did poop out a bunch of what looked like gallstones. Or, like, I mean, they looked like the pictures of the gallstones from this weird website where I had gotten all this information. So I was like, "Okay, I have gallstones, and this is what I need to do." Did my stomach improve after the first cleanse? No, but I was like, "That's okay. There are 9 cleanses. This is a 9-month process. So 1 down, 8 to go." Oh, so sad to look back on that, a 9-month journey that was gonna end in failure, but I didn't know that yet. So, let me just say 2 of the cleanses that I remember the best, because they were the worst. One was, I had a night class in grad school, and the way that, the University of Minnesota was, like, where the social work, building was, it was very far from any street parking, and there was a, parking ramp right across from the building. Now, I'm the type of person, thankfully, I have a professional job, and I would probably be parking in that parking ramp right now. At that time, first of all, I didn't have my own car. I had no money. I had nothing. I obviously didn't have my own car. I was using my parents' car. I still don't have a car, but I live in New York, so one doesn't really need a car. But I didn't park in the parking ramp because it was outrageously expensive. For me at the time. You could also get, like, there were parking lots that had there were, various different tiers of, like, pay for, like, the gold thing or the maroon thing because those were the stupid University of Minnesota colors and parking, priority sort of ranked accordingly. Um, I didn't buy any of that shit because I was like, "It's too expensive, it's a waste of money, I can't afford it, I have nothing. My stupid restaurant job, how am I ever gonna pay off this fucking degree?" Um, all that, and so I was parking on the street, which was a good 20-minute walk from the, building, um, and so one of the days to do the cleanse, you're supposed to do it once a month. One of the days happened to be on a day where I had night class. So I had not eaten all day. I had drank a fuck ton of apple juice and my bowels were churning. Like they were moving. And I'm on this walk, I'm like clenching my butt cheeks together, like, okay, Sean, keep it in. Keep it in. Cause I'm like, I'm gonna have mucusy diarrhea all over the place the second my ass hits a toilet seat. You know what I mean? A little graphic, but some of you know the feeling. You know the feeling, and certainly so do I. And so I'm walking down the hill, and I'm like, "I'm still, like, 10 minutes away from the car, oh my god." And I kid you not, I did shit myself a little bit. Like, not a lot, it wasn't, like, full, like, you know what I mean? It was just, like, a little bit had leaked out, and I was like, "Oh god, no. Oh god, no." And, like, it truly, as rock bottom as this was, it was also, even in the moment, it was funny because I'm like, what do I expect? Like, I'm doing this whole cleanse. I'm now walking 20 minutes late at night, like, after a whole day of this cleanse. Literally, what do I expect? And, I mean, I had to, like, sort of shimmy my way down the rest of the hill into the car, first place I drove to was a gas station to, like, fucking clean myself up. Crazy, totally crazy. And then, get home and just down the olive oil and the lemon juice and keep it pushing. It was crazy. It was so bad. Um, The other one that I remember very clearly, at that time of life, my Irish grandmother, who had been living in Florida, my mom had moved her up to St. Paul to live near us because, she was at the end of her life. And at the end, like those last several months of my grandma's life, she needed someone to stay with her, like in her apartment every night. So we split the job 3 ways and rotated. So one night it would be this nursing student who my mom had hired. One night it would be my brother, and then one night it would be me. And we just rotated like that for months. And of course, another day came to do the cleanse that coincided with the night that I was staying at my grandma's. So there I was, sitting on the toilet seat, shitting out gallstones. And I mean, I don't even know if they were gallstones, but shitting out whatever was coming out. There were 2 times, like I said, where I vomited doing this cleanse. I don't remember. Did I vomit at my grandma's house? I'm not sure. Um, but that memory of being in her bathroom where I was supposed to be, like, taking care of her as she was in her final year of life, and there I am literally hogging her bathroom for a long time and worried, like, "Oh god, I hope she doesn't need to come in here. Oh god, I hope she doesn't need to come in here," and thank god she's pretty fucking deaf and can't hear this, because 'cause I'm just in there shitting out gallstones, and that was a rock bottom. That was really a rock bottom. A couple other things I remember is, like, I really, really hoped that I would have solved the problem before I moved back to New York, which was the plan after grad school, was to move back to New York. So moving day came and went, and wherever you go, there you are. There I was with a master's degree, set up in my new apartment. I had achieved the goal. I was living with a very good friend at the time. I was back, and the IBS had come too. What a terrible downer. I had failed my mission to solve this problem. My stomach still hurt every day. I was just there in the apartment, living my new life that was supposed to be the dream with the same problem. Uh, I mean, and there's so many things I could say, like, so many memories coming up. But years later, still having issues. Now I'm like a therapist full time. Um, I went on a Saturday morning to get a colonic, like a professional colonic, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's like a professionally done enema that apparently goes like way deeper. And it was just such a negative experience. Oh, so awful. The place was, like, set up in this, like, faux sort of Grecian/Italian garden vibe, which was so cheesy. Like, that could have been beautiful, you know what I mean? But the place was so seedy and nasty that, like, the faux decor was, like, so bad that I was so gross. And the woman who did you have to lie on like, a medical table while this woman, like, shoves a thing up your butt and, like, does, the water and, I don't know, various stuff they put up there and clean you out. And the first pass, like the first, I don't know, the first pass at whatever they do, so much gas came out of my system that I remember the woman who was doing the colonic was like, "Oh, oh, oh," like startled and like kind of like shaking with the tube in her hand, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's this bad." Like, my stomach is so messed up that this colonic woman who does this, like, every day is in a state of, like, shock at how bad it is. During this whole time, I was so unmotivated to do anything fun. Cause, like, what was the point? Like, what felt comfortable to me was, like, working and chores and tasks because, like, if your stomach hurts and you're at work, I don't know, for me, for some reason, like, for me, that just, like, felt sort of okay. Also, like, if I had like, an annoying day of, like, chores and tasks and my stomach hurt, somehow, like, that felt tolerable too. But like, it was so hard for me to, like, go out and try to have fun or, like, go on vacation when my stomach was going to be hurting so bad the whole time. Like, that really felt so, so bad to me to, like, try and have fun, try and do social stuff, and have, like, a terrible stomach pain the whole time. It ruined everything fun, everything. So, like, I just got very used to putting my time into, like, doing stuff that sucked, so that, I wouldn't feel the pain of trying to have fun and, like, having that be totally ruined. Um, I had a whole phase of doing traditional Chinese medicine with herbs. I would go to this guy in Chinatown and he would, like, put together various herbs that I would then cook. Um, I did that for a long time. That did not help me. I mean, so many things. I just did so many things. And I'm skipping, like, I have so many images come into my mind, so many things. Let me just say, my life was so limited for so many years. But life did go on. Like, somehow I did keep pushing forward. I had the beginning of my career as a therapist. I got fully licensed. I dated. I had a boyfriend. We had a very serious relationship. We lived together for many years. He was, like, totally in the thick of it with me with, like, stomach stuff. Like, wow. Um, I mean, it's just so all encompassing. Like, I have so many stories in my life that revolve around how hard it was to have IBS. Like, I'm just thinking about, like, how much the IBS impacted my relationship, thinking about, like, everything. I could say so much more. So many more little anecdotes coming to mind, but okay, time. This is longer than I expected. What turned this around? And of course, it's longer than I expected because, get me talking about the IBS, and it's like it was so long. It was so deep for so long. All right, what turned this around? Let's get to that. It started with a program called DNRS, Dynamic Neural Retraining System, DNRS, based on neuroplasticity. It's similar to pain reprocessing therapy. Um, it's similar to what we talk about in this podcast as the psychological work of TMS. TMS work has three parts. The full richness of TMS work, there are three parts: psychological, emotional, and self-attunement slash self-care slash, self-love, self-empowerment, whatever you want to call part three. DNRS didn't have all of that, but it did have part one. It did have the psychological work. So it was enough to make a difference. So the program was like, your symptoms are caused by your nervous system. You're safe. You're okay. You just need to calm down your nervous system. You just need to feel safe. And that was a start. So with DNRS, you're supposed to do this, like, DNRS style meditation sort of thing for an hour a day, which was a lot, but I was like, let me try it. So I would do it on the subway to and from work, and I would get an hour in every day. And my symptoms really did become more chill. They still existed pretty much every day. They still existed, but they chilled out to the point where, like, my IBS could sort of almost live in the background of my life. So I had that for a few years. And then I found TMS work, and that really blew my mind because that was like, "Oh, I see." The idea of thinking psychologically, not physically, and thinking about all of the emotions I was not feeling, and learning, "Oh my god, of course, the emotions, that's where the pain and the symptoms are coming from." Knowing that all those emotions are in there, and how I knew those emotions were in there and that I was not feeling them and that I'm afraid to feel them was right because I had the terrible stomach issues. And, at that time, for me, really I've had so many symptom imperatives. At that time, the hip pain had basically eclipsed the IBS as being more intense. That symptom imperative had, like, taken more of a central role at that time. Um, so I was blown away when I found TMS work. I was like, "Oh, stop." Like, given what I've been through, this makes so much sense. TMS theory makes so much sense. So I started journaling. I unearthed a ton of emotions. I started taking my trauma history seriously for the first time in my life. I started taking, honestly, my true self, knowing who that even was and taking that seriously for the first time in my life. And, you know, I recovered the way that all people with TMS recover, digging up my repressed emotions and learning that my emotions are safe, changing my mindset and learning that sensations in my body, including pain and symptoms, are safe, changing my relationship with myself actually learning to tune into myself and try to be my true self, and certainly try to be kind to my true self for the first time, that's what I did. I began questioning my triggers. Is it really the gluten? Is it really that I can't consume a drop of gluten at all? No, that is fine. Is it really that I can't consume one morsel of sugar at all? Again, no, that is fine. And interestingly, like I said, my hip was really the main sort of TMS focus when I first found the work. Of course, my stomach too, of course, because that was still going on and had been such a terrible problem. But I was more focused on the hip. And, like I said, I can't detail everything I did emotionally. Listen to other podcast episodes. As you know, TMS recovery is a very holistic journey. There's no way I can cover everything in just one episode. So here I'm just giving you the story. And what happened, but slowly, the stomach issues just kind of went away. And it's interesting to think, like, I was more focused on the hip, and I'm sure that's part of it, that the stomach was just kind of existing in the background and I wasn't stressing about it. That's doing the psychological work really well. It's like really not focusing on it, really not stressing about it, and it just chilled out. And let me say to you directly, stick with us here, okay? Because here, even though it's a lot, we actually talk about the actual deep emotional and psychological healing that actually leads to resolving chronic pain and chronic symptoms. Stick with this world of neuroplastic recovery therapies because this is what will help you. Where am I at today? I do not have chronic IBS anymore. That has just honestly slowly faded away to the point where I can confidently say I do not have it anymore. And there was not, I mean, my story is not like one massive event happened and like, oh my God, I don't have IBS anymore. For me, it was like a slow fade where I was like, oh, this is getting better. This is getting better. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't have that anymore. And I do want to say I am still part of the sensitive stomach crew. Like, I'm definitely still part of that club. Um, when I'm stressed out, I'm doing too much, I'm around too many people for too long, I'm overwhelmed, I need to chill out, I need to go home. Yeah, my stomach will hurt at those times. And when I listen to my stomach, and when I take my emotions seriously, and when I chill out and go home and stop overdoing it, then my stomach calms down and I no longer have chronic IBS. Isn't that nuts? You know what I mean? Like, it still happens to me a little bit here and there, but like it happens for a reason and it doesn't last. It just goes away. Isn't that like a fucking miracle? Right? And I want that for you. I truly want the same for you. That is why I do this podcast, because I want this for you. So stick with this stuff. If you've gone through the whole rigmarole and you've landed here, then you know your symptoms are emotional and psychological, just like mine. And this is the healing. Okay. I will talk to you next week. If you're looking for a therapist, you found one. And you can decide. Does my vibe resonate with you? Therapy is an opportunity. Therapy is an opportunity to tune into you, to learn to feel more comfortable being yourself, to feel more comfortable with your emotions, and to feel more comfortable existing in the world in your body. Do you have difficulties in your life? Maybe it's chronic pain, maybe it's something else. Maybe you want to become a person who likes yourself. Do you want a therapist to help you? And would you like me to get to know you and to help you. That is actually an option. You can find me at SeanHershey.com or mindbodymedicineforchronicpain.com. Both go to the same place, and if you're looking for me, I'd welcome a message from you. SeanHershey.com, mindbodymedicineforchronicpain.com, and you can request a free consultation.